Books have been a very important and sacred thing for most of human history. A lot of people, including myself, love and depend on books not only to get smarter, but to expand their mind. Who in here are big readers, by a show of hands? Almost everyone. We all like to improve ourselves, we like to learn more. But what if I asked you this question? If I was able to explain all the concepts and meanings behind what was contained in a book, all the points that an author had laid out in his book, without actually having to read that book, but I fully understand it, does it matter that I actually read that book? Does it matter that you actually read a book if you understand everything that the author was trying to convey? I mean, if you think about it, haven't you noticed that most books, generally in the nonfiction category, especially in the self-help category, it's a lot of fluff with one or two gem nuggets. And it's super, super frustrating. I mean, let's take the book, that famous book, The One Thing by Gary Keller, the surprisingly simple results behind, or the simple, extraordinary truth behind surprising results by Gary Keller. That is a 252-page book, or a 5-hour audiobook. That's a lot of fluff to talk about the one thing. By the way, spoiler alert, the one thing is successful people focus on one thing, not many things. And you should get all the clutter out of your life that's preventing you from doing the one thing. I just saved you 5 hours. Now, wouldn't it be great if we could do this with all other kinds of books? Well, the thing is, we all know this concept of change your mind and it'll change your life. I want to help you change the way that you look at books, but not just books, information and data. Because if you think about it, a book is really just a medium that carries information. Just like a documentary, a blog post, even your DNA is a medium that carries information, albeit genetic information. So, if we look at it in a way that it's just information, then we can be more efficient and better and stop wasting our times with and find the most effective way to consume this information. I mean, contextually, let's look at Socrates once said that the written word would produce forgetfulness in the learner's souls. In other words, Socrates actually gave a talk about how he thought books were going to corrupt people and make them forgetful people. Why would he say something about that? Obviously, he was wrong to some extent, but it's context. Think about it. During a time that Socrates was alive, oration, speaking, this was the dominant form of passing on information. Books were very hard to print and write before the printing press, and you needed good oratory skills to have a happy and successful life in ancient Greece. Now, fast forward to the printing press with Gutenberg in the 15th century, now you have something that's revolutionary. You have the written word being able to scale on a level never before seen. Think about it. Imagine you are a scientist like Isaac Newton, and you realize that now you have this technology that can spread your ideas. You wouldn't spread it by just speaking lectures one by one. That's extremely inefficient. It would make more sense to jot down your works through books. That way it can scale. Now I'm going to argue, let's fast forward to the 21st century. Let's look at podcasts and video and audiobooks. This is the new printing press, the speaking press, if you will. Think about it. Because of videos like TED Talks, who in here loves TED Talks? Who in here listens to podcasts? These are all great mediums to have information passed. You can go on YouTube and find free lectures and conversations with authors talking about their book, and it gets you all the points, even in a more nuanced way than sometimes reading the book. Think the lecture and speech has now been able to scale. The speaking press. If you've ever thought about writing a book, I'm going to try and sway you this way. Think about it this way. 1% of all books printed, less than 1% ever sell 10,000 copies in their entire lifetime. Less than 42 out of 1 million books ever pass 100,000 copies in their entire lifetime. one podcast episode can be downloaded by 2 million plus people per episode. And imagine the amount of time and effort that goes into podcasting versus writing a book. If your goal is to spread information, speaking is the way to go. I mean, during when the printing press came out, oration basically died down for a long period of time. Hell, what's the number one fear in the entire world right now? Data shows people are more scared of public speaking than death itself. You have showed up and joined Toastmasters because you see value in speaking. The spoken word to you obviously resonates with you to some extent. Well, now you live in the best time where the spoken word can scale on a level that books would be completely jealous of. So take that in consideration. Now you may be thinking, okay, I see it. I'm just looking for information. Books could be possibly overrated, but I love audiobooks, I love podcasts. How can I be more efficient at consuming information? Well, obviously we know that in modern times, everyone's fighting for your attention. Blog posts, ads, audiobooks, all these stuff. Well, there's apps out there like Blinkist, which is one of my personal favorites, where it's a subscription app where it breaks down books, like in the nonfiction genre, almost into SparkNotes, but it doesn't summarize the book. It actually breaks down the central points into a way that you can cohesively understand. Then you have obviously various amounts of podcasts out there, and then you can use apps like the Great Courses Plus, or you can use Udemy. There's so many outlets where the lecture is more efficient than the written word, especially when you value your time. I mean, if you think about it, if we look to the future, where we're getting close to where in brain prosthetics and people talking about merging your brain with machines. In the context of that, imagine if only taking information was literally uploading it straight to your brain, or finding a way to pass information through molecules and it's just a pill or injection. In those contexts, reading a book would be completely silly. So, in conclusion, I want you to view books as a medium for information. And if you just try to take the approach that you want to consume the information and try to figure out the most efficient way to get what you need, rather than be attached to the idea of a book or that you have to finish a book in its entirety, you should get what you need to get out of it. And I think if we have this approach, the opportunities are endless.